Give me a second. Sorry, I'm used to Twitch streams and stuff like that. All right. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the first official episode of the Jedi Sages podcast, a brand new, totally unique podcast talking about nothing but Star Wars, and more Star Wars. We are here with me.
Hello,
Ben.
you.
Hello, me. I am me. Ben and my brother Rob.
Hello, I'm Rob. I'm you. I mean me.
He is him.
I'm Rob.
He is Rob. And it's fair to say that we have been Star Wars fans for a long time.
Yes, over a quarter of a century.
Yeah, so we're well versed in Star Wars. So this podcast is all going to be about talking about Star Wars. I think that was just obvious. Topics of discussion in terms of like rumors, reviewing TV shows, because obviously there's loads of stuff coming out on Disney Plus. We don't know what's going to be happening with films, so when that ever comes around, we can talk about that. We'll be talking about theories for new things, new TV shows, new games. We'll be talking about some of the problems with the current Star Wars universe that maybe we can fix. I know, very egocentric thing. We can fix $1 billion franchise.
Yes, we'll see. Yes.
Who knows?
That leads to the dark side.
It does lead to the dark side, indeed. And yeah, we can also try and answer people's questions. So we'll try and get like an email address sorted out so people can pop in questions to us via either Twitter or email, so we can get that sorted out so it can be a real interactive podcast. So I thought the first real episode that we would do, we would talk about our opinions on all the Star Wars movies. So obviously,
let the controversy begin.
Exactly. So obviously, like we said, we've been Star Wars fans since ever. I think that camera's died already, but that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I can roll off that one.
Yes,
I think.
Look, it's fading. There it goes.
Turning into the dark, like turning towards the light. It's fine. So obviously, yeah, we've been Star Wars fans for a very long time. Our lovely mother introduced it to us.
Oh yes, it's all her fault.
Yes, it's all her fault, but it's a positive thing. So we'll take it from there. So we have seen every single film, we've seen every single TV show a multitude of times.
Well, what we should add is we haven't seen the things that were televised, like the Caravan of Garbage, whatever it was called.
Like the holiday special.
The holiday specials,
Yeah,
the Ewok things that have recently been released on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
we haven't seen
that
any
was
of those.
before our time, wasn't
We're
it?
talking real Star Wars
Real
here.
Star Wars.
Real Star Wars.
The OG Star Wars.
Not to negate anyone who feels like that is their Star Wars.
Yeah.
That is your Star Wars. It's just not our Star Wars. Thank
Exactly. You. Very true. Very true. So, episode 1. Ranking all the Star Wars movies. Like you said, controversy off the bat. Now, obviously, like, this is opinion-based. You can disagree, you can agree. It's perfectly fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion of saying what their favourite one is.
And actually, I quite enjoy listening to other people justify their opinions, because actually you look at it from a different point of view.
Yeah.
It all depends on a certain point of view.
Yes, indeed. So, we're going to start with you.
Okay, right.
Okay, so what is your all-time... What is your number one Star Wars film?
Okay, well, this varies. All right, and it's always one of two.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was writing it this morning, the first one that came to mind, probably because of the Mandalorian and you know the cameo that he made in there, it's going to be Return of the Jedi, because there's just something about. I think that was the first one that I remember seeing on VHS. For those of you who don't know, VHS is like a plastic tape, had actual tape inside it that you had to rewind at the end, not a disc. And there was just something epically cool about Luke Skywalker in black. He had an excellent cape, and I loved his cape. And it was that balance of jovialness and fun with the Ewoks, and at that age, what was I, like 7, something like that. I was in primary school.
Well, I mean, it came out in 84? What, 82? Or was it 80?
No, I think it was Empire 82, 77, 82, 85?
84, 85, yeah.
Something like that.
But we weren't born then, okay, just like FYI.
No.
Probably weren't even thought of.
And I think it was just, there was a lovely balance between the fun and the adventure, but also the really dark, serious, like that Emperor's throne room will stay with me to the end of time.
100%. How it was designed was just brilliant.
And the evilness of Emperor Palpatine, the redemption of Vader, there was just something very, I don't know, it struck home. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of that one. I remember buying the action figures. I remember, funnily enough, I remember a particular Emperor Palpatine toy that I used to have that I'm pretty sure you flushed down the toilet. We're going to air that live on air. It's fine. I will forgive you one day.
That's fine.
But it was just something. I think there was a lot of emotion to that battle as well. The lightsaber fight. It was epic. The music by John Williams was incredible, and I think it was very much a story of father and son, in the sense of you saw both their stories. Vader had a lot more screen time, I felt, in this one. I don't actually know the statistics, but
he definitely felt like he did.
And he was very much more of a character. He was more fleshed out, and it gave you that kind of I suppose you saw the potential of who he could have been. And your imagination went back to kind of the
who was Anakin Skywalker, who he could have been before he was the man in the suit.
It made you dream of the prequels before there were prequels. And I just think yes, people say that Han Solo's he's not Han Solo. I know a lot of people who are very fond of Empire Strikes Back. They say,
but then that's because obviously this time his story arc is now he's turning into a general, as opposed to he's not a smuggler anymore. He's trying to be this leader in this in the Rebel Alliance. He's trying to be someone that people look towards. It's the same with Lando as well, isn't it? They're both these scoundrels, these scallywags that are now been thrusted into the limelight and going, right, you need to lead these people. You need to basically lead us to salvation. Otherwise, we're all dead.
And I think it was it felt for some people like it was quite a fundamental change of character, didn't they? From definitely the guy who shot Greedo first, or did he? To this kind of more emotional, more relatable,
almost kind,
good character, I mean, I could go on about Return of the Jedi for ages, but what's yours?
Ironically, Return of the Jedi is also my my number one, my favourite. Literally very similar points. The redemption arc of Vader was incredible, going from episode 4 through 5 and then into 6. I thought the lightsaber fight scene at the end was just incredible. I thought just the way it was choreographed and then the way it ended was just brilliant. And obviously I'm a massive space fan geezer, so that battle above Endor was just when I was a kid, that was amazing. And like you said, the soundtrack was amazing. It had all the good parts of all the whole trilogy beforehand. So the track Return of the Jedi had literally all the classics from the original trilogy mixed together. Palpatine's theme, it just brought fear just when you heard it.
Absolutely,
it was amazing. It did amazingly beautifully round off the trilogy. When I can imagine that when that came out in the cinemas, people had gone from 4 or 5 and then into 6. They just thought, oh my god, this is brilliant. That ending scene, just with them all together, the ghosts, it was just amazing. But obviously, don't get me wrong, it's number one, but it does have some a few drawbacks. The start, if you think about it, is very convoluted. So C-3PO and R2 go to Jabba's palace, then they're taken against their will because they didn't know anything about it. Then Chewie comes in and he gets captured, and then Luke comes in. It just all seems a bit
I think do you know what else helps? Obviously, with the comics being released now, I'm a lot more aware now that there is actually a gap of a couple of years or a year between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
I don't know if it's never mentioned in the films, but I think it was,
and I think they're stretching it as much as they can in the comics.
I can imagine that it would probably be, for story's sake, probably 1 or 2 years, because obviously 1 or 2 years between the making of the films, they would probably just use that as an example.
And it's very, I think it's very misleading, because obviously at the end of Empire Strikes Back, Luke says, I'll meet you on the rendezvous point on Tatooine, but that's then, you've got a gap of a couple of years and a lot has happened. And so I think there's a lot of, the convolutedness doesn't help with your sense of, with the disorientation and the unknown gap of time.
And look, we all love the Ewoks. They were cute, but obviously at the end of the day, they were a bit like.
But
were they necessary? They were cute and cuddly.
Right.
But
Tell me this. Right. That scene where the ATST, or the Chicken Walker, is attacking the Ewoks. And there's that beautiful piece of music where the Ewok falls over. Yeah. Tell me you didn't feel you felt
they were
tragedy.
Obviously, yes. Their representation of like a almost a native society.
Yes.
Obviously, that's another thing that was like, it was a clear representation of like a native society that was being taken advantage, not taken advantage of per se, but like oppressed versus a superior force. But I mean, like
it was that age-old classic, wasn't it, of
like,
kind of nature versus
it's like
machine.
Yeah, and also like a Last Samurai Avatar-esque of how it's like a native society that's like almost primitive. Like they haven't got blasters or anything like that. They got spears and arrows versus like blasters and stuff. So, I mean, it didn't bother me. I know some people were just like, oh, Ewoks. They're just like, they're fine. They're cute and cuddly. Right. Shall I go off with number 2?
Yes, you go on.
Right. So number 2. This had changed. This position had floated about in my head, and then after rewatching this one, I was like, okay, yeah, this is actually number 2. Revenge of the Sith. So I remember when we went to go see it in the cinema, I believe it was 2005.
Yes.
That opening scene was incredible. Like the CGI behind it was just amazing. While, yes, okay, it might not 100% stand up to scrutiny now, but at the time it was amazing.
With the sunset coming up, or the sun coming up behind
just
Coruscant.
all the intricacies of just like the camera angle following these two fighters through an absolute chaotic space scene, and obviously, like I said, space battles. I love space battles. So like your eyes, they don't know where to look because you can see Venators blowing up, you can see battleships in the corner like flying around, tri-fighters going around, and it was amazing. And already, like off the start of that, you saw the chemistry between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and also Ewan McGregor and Hayden. Like you saw that. The lightsaber fights in this film, like while Revenge of the Sith was good, like they were next level. You had younger actors who were more flexible. You had moves that were just like incredible. I mean, yeah, maybe the fight between Mace and Palps could have been a little bit better.
Yes, I think, definitely. And what I'm going to say is, so that we can continue this discussion, Revenge of the Sith is my number 2 as well.
This is not planned. We have literally come together today with these scripts. So
we haven't seen each other's notes.
I gave him the idea of like, right, this is episode 1. We're going to be talking about this. Just write down your stuff and look at that. What are the chances? And
I just think, funnily enough, this one often swaps with my number 1. I think Revenge of the Sith sometimes is my number 1, sometimes it's Return of the Jedi. But I think just starting with that space battle, I remember sitting in the theatre.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it? Like just watching it, and the soundtrack like amped it as
drums.
Well. Yeah, just
the drums
when they're going in. And I thought, like everyone, like okay, look, some of the writing in it could have been better. Like, admittedly, there were.
You're breaking my heart.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean that's just to quote some. There could have been better writing, but it is what it is. But I think Anakin's fall and how it was portrayed was absolutely incredible. I don't think you can argue that watching him succumb to the dark side, watching him fall to the influence of Palpatine and the Emperor, it was portrayed so well. It was excellently acted. You could feel the emotion.
Absolutely. Brought about by the soundtrack.
Yeah, again,
just
the
absolutely. Battle of the Heroes was one of my go-to.
Yeah.
In fact, when we were playing with our action figures, I believe Battle of the Heroes was on in the background. On a CD or a cassette. I can't remember which one. I think it was CD. CD at that point. We'd moved past.
We'd upgraded our technology by that point. But no, I thought... and again, like Return of the Jedi... Revenge of the Sith rounded off that prequel trilogy. Amazing. Yes,
it's the combination, isn't it? Yeah. So it's the most dramatic, I think, and it had that nice counterpoint. Whereas Revenge of the Jedi, as it was originally going to be called, Return of the Jedi had that lovely happy ending, kind of rounding off of the trilogy.
This one was more like you knew what was going to happen, and it was like okay.
But also, it ended it so well.
Yeah,
and actually, it led. Before Rogue One, it led in so beautifully to the next one. No. And I have to agree with you. Like the lightsaber fights were incredible.
Yeah, you can't. And the fact, and if someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm very certain that both Hayden and Ewan pretty much did all their own stunts.
Oh yes, I remember watching behind the scenes.
Yeah, they did everything themselves.
Absolutely, and I just think, there was that drama to it. Only the CGI,
because you forget that obviously Temuera Morrison, who played all the clone troopers, he like literally copy and pasted. I mean, there are scenes. I think the biggest one that stands out for me is when Obi-Wan is briefing the 212th, and you can see the clone troopers.
Is it the 212th or is it the 501st? No, it's the 212th. He's Cody's, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got the 212th attack battalion.
That's a trivia question.
I know, you idiot. And like you can see, like they're very obviously CGI.
Here's his head. Yeah, here's the rest of his CGI pajama suit.
It is unfortunate. I mean, could that be improved later on down the line? I don't know, but it is what it is. It's the struggles of like, okay, look, you've chosen a clone army. That's copy and paste, mate. Like you can't like while there are I don't know, maybe like 1 billion actors in the world. Like, there's no way you can get all of them that are 5'11", this weight.
True.
That can fit into that. So
true.
It's just one of the drawbacks.
I do think that the movie, obviously George Lucas was going for like, he was pushing the boundaries of technological advancement.
What it could do. Yeah.
And I do think that something like the Clone Troopers, which had to interact a lot with the environments, I do think that they could have done with having physical armor and actually being there, because I think the environments you can kind of give it a pass, because actually you can tell that this is what they're supposed to be, but the characters, I think the Clone Troopers could have done with it being a bit more real,
but it was a harder one to do. But no, I think like I said, the main drawback probably was the Mace Palps fight. I think that was probably down to Ian McDermott and George wanted to have, I believe, I remember watching behind the scenes, and I'm pretty sure he said that he wanted the fight to feel very personal, so i.e. having the cameras close to the faces, you can see with
the Samuel L. Jackson, like the bulging veins coming out of his face,
because you could see like even he was like Mace Windu at the time was angry. He was he just watched like 3 other people just be cut down. But obviously that means that you're going to have to use Ian McDermott up close and personal, and he might not have that. Yeah, exactly. But it is. But then I think that was redeemed with the Yoda fight.
Yes,
I thought that was incredible.
And I think what would have benefited, I think, not to jump the gun, but how I would have tweaked that fight is I think it should have ended in the office. With on the window ledge, but I think there was probably scope where Anakin was running through all that enormous hall. I think there was probably scope for some kind of battle there where you could have had wider shots, because I still think the Yoda fight felt personal because you still had those close-ups. But I think the fight would have benefited from a bit more space where you could demonstrate, because let's face it, Adrian Kolar, I think it's Adrian Kolar and not the other one.
Stacey's Tin and Kit Fish, though.
Yeah, or your favourite, Kit Fish, though. They needless to say, it
was pathetic. They just
they had their rear ends handed to them.
Yeah, literally.
And it wasn't very convincing. Whereas I think if you had, and I'm thinking back to like the Clone Wars now, where Palpatine dual wields the 2 lightsabers where he's fighting Maul and Savage Opress, and you've got that space, and you can really show off how intimidating both Mace and the other Jedi sword masters, not just masters, they were Jedi like sword masters.
And they were like full on Jedi Council members as well, because Kit and Stacey's were both on the full Jedi Council. And
I think that you would have been able to demonstrate their abilities more. Then with the manipulations of Palpatine, bringing them to where to his battleground, then killing them. And I think you could. It would have been better that way. You would have got a more. It would have been more impressive and more believable, and you wouldn't have got those hammy shots.
But no, overall, Revenge of the Sith was amazing, and I think, do you know what? I think the runtime was actually justified, because I'm pretty sure when I clocked it the other day when I watched it, it was just over 2.5 hours, and I think that
was it 2.5? Was it 220, something like that?
Yeah, it was around that kind of mark, and like that gives you enough time to express, to go into detail, to go through everything. And we're not taking into consideration General Grievous. I thought he was a cool, he was a cool bad person.
Absolutely,
guy. He was underrated. At the time. Yeah,
and I think, they could have gone really hammy with it, but actually they didn't. I think they could have done how he was in the Genndy Tartakovsky I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. The 2D animated clone, there was that Clone Wars thing.
The one in 2005.
He was more kind
I
of
think.
menacing. It was almost kind of creature of the shadow kind of thing. But do you know
he was big as well, wasn't he? He was big.
Yeah, but it was so impressive.
Yeah.
And just the CGI of him was really, really good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
But yeah, I mean, I think, and actually, the common thread there between Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith is Palpatine.
Yeah.
And the darkness, and I think those, they're incomparable.
Yeah.
To the others, I think not incomparable, but they stand above the others in my mind.
100%. Right, what is your number 3? Now, this could be is this going to be 3 for 3?
Oh, I don't know because this one is always hard because there are others that I have fond memories of, but this one is it's The Empire Strikes Back for me. So for you,
that's 3 for 3,
and I just think it sets up the story.
Yeah, it does.
You've got the amazing locations of Hoth, and Dagobah. It introduces Yoda, who is one of the best characters in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of the learning, and you've still got that element of darkness to it. I seem to like darkness. I don't know why. The lightsaber fight was good because it was the first time. I mean, we'd seen Return of the Jedi. I think I can't remember whether I saw Return of the Jedi first or.
Oh, no. Mum would have shown us in order.
Probably.
100%.
But Empire Strikes Back was the first one that we saw where it wasn't an old man and half machine person fighting. So it was that kind of
you could also tell that Luke was untrained.
Yes,
there was that element of noviceness, if that's even a word.
Noviceness. But it was just Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
Now, are you in favour of the Temuera Morrison?
Yes.
Voiceover as opposed
Absolutely.
to it was no disrespect to the original actor.
No, but I think
for continuity it worked.
It fitted better. Once Attack of the Clones came out, it was much better to change it because otherwise you were left with that question. Well, hold on, what's going on? Yeah. And I just think it's really good. The iconicness
of him, of what he looked like,
him,
at the
and
time.
I think it was really good because obviously this was.
And a bit of mystery as well, because he had very limited screen time. Everyone was like, "Who is this person?"
It was very much. What's his name? The man. Funny enough, the man with no name, Clint Eastwood. It was that kind of mysterious cowboy. Don't say much.
Yeah.
And let's face it, if it wasn't for this film, we wouldn't have something like The Mandalorian.
True.
And I think. Empire Strikes Back is brilliant.
Yeah. So going on to obviously because mine is also the same. So with Empire, my point was it perfectly represents the middle story of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
It literally does. You have episode 4, which has the introduction. You have episode 5, which has his failings and his setbacks.
Yes.
And his learning, which then goes into his success in the last one. And I'm not going to lie, I feel like this template in episode 5 has now been used, is the go-to. Whenever there's a trilogy,
the middle one in the
trilogy, middle one is the Empire Strikes Back of.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's just it, because it's the bad guys win. Literally they do. They force the rebels out. Luke is crippled. Han is captured. Everyone is morally everyone is the morale is just demoralized. Yeah, that's the word. And I thought there was brilliant character development for Luke, Han, and Leia. All three of them had good character development. You saw that Han, while he was still selfish, and because at this point he's in the middle phase of, do I stay and fight, or I've got to pay off this bounty? I'm still a smuggler, but then I'm a fighter. Do I like Leia? Do I not? You know what I mean? It's that development of him of his moral struggles inside. You got Leia's one, which of is this guy even good for me? Blah blah blah, all kind of that. And then Luke is the main one because he's learning all these new abilities from Yoda, who when he is introduced, it's that scene where he's acting like a little cute old man, and then he's just it's that sigh.
Like what?
Yeah, it's that sigh of because he then starts talking to Obi-Wan. Yeah, it's just I can't. Do you really want me to do it with this guy? It's just jeez. And I think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of people were, as a negative point, people were probably a little bit fed up of C-3PO. I feel like there was a lot of him in this, but I think that was more of him being a comic relief. But
I think it's a dark film that needed some comic relief. But actually, I think it was, compared to some of the other films. calling General Hugs. Blimey. He was used really effectively. It was very character comedy rather than slapstick, hey, look at me, I'm falling over. Whoops, banging my head on things. I also, thinking about what it introduced to the kind of the lore of Star Wars, it's very mystical. You know, we had this idea of the Force in A New Hope, but actually this film is the one that developed it.
Yeah,
it
fleshed it out, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you love the starships.
Yeah.
I love the Force, the religion, the mysticism of it.
Not to mention, this one also had some iconic iconic music, like the asteroid field,
the Imperial March.
Literally, you can't even go wrong with that.
Which I can't. It's this TikTok thing, isn't it? Oh, I was this years old when I found out. I remember vividly going back and going, hold on a minute. Imperial March isn't in A New Hope. For years we'd go around do because we just like, oh, that's Vader's theme.
Yeah.
Not in the first one.
It's not in it, is it?
And so it introduced that theme. It was fantastic. Obviously, we first introduced to the Emperor.
Yeah.
Good old Palps.
Yeah. While in, I think, what is it in the original? Like, he looks like he's like been stung by a bee or something. It's quite swollen, isn't it?
It's a chimpanzee face. Superimposed over it was a lady. It was superimposed over a lady with Clive Revell's voice.
I think it was a necessary change in
Yes, well, that's the famous scene, isn't it? That every time George Lucas releases a new edition of it changes. Yeah. So you had, personally, I think I prefer the one where it's the Return of the Jedi Emperor.
I think the final version that's like on a Disney Plus, for example, is the Episode 3 style. So,
what we would call Chunky Palps.
Chunky Palps.
He's fresher. He's recently crisped.
Recently melted.
He is.
Okay, right. So, moving on to number 4. This could be a 4 out of 4. We don't know.
Let's see.
Okay, so I put A New Hope.
Yeah, that's 4 out of 4, ladies and gentlemen. 4 out of 4.
Completely unscripted, promise.
We're supposed to have differences here so we can discuss them.
But, I suppose that will come in later on, innit?
So, I have no doubt.
Yeah. Right, so obviously, let's face it, without A New Hope, you don't have Star Wars.
Absolutely.
It's just facts. Like, it is the first, it got changed to the 4th, it doesn't matter. Like, it is literally the be-all and end-all. It is the start of it. Like, you can't have Star Wars without New Hope. And it wasn't, it was cool. Like when it came out in the 70s, like, you could imagine the hype around it. Like, I've seen pictures of like outside cinemas and stuff, queues going like around the corner and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I thought while it kills me a bit like a Harrison Ford, I thought Alec Guinness was amazing as Obi-Wan. But it kills me that he wasn't really invested in it as much as he could have been, because obviously when he was coming back for Episode 5 and Episode 6, obviously he was only doing it for the money, which was very, very sad.
Well, yes, but also I think, as George famously says, call him George, like he's my friend.
Yeah, no. Got him on WhatsApp.
As George has just told me. But George has said that once they escaped the Death Star, Obi-Wan had nothing to do, because it then became the young people's story.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan was the way of transitioning from the old guard, the old generation, to the new guard. Disney could have learned from that. So there is that element of he's not needed. And I think, what would he have been doing? I think it's always that...
He would have just been sat on Yavin, just going, use the Force, Luke. Use the Force. It's like...
Yeah, and I think it would have been a case of, he's stuck there doing nothing.
Yeah.
And there is that classical trope, isn't there, of like, very much like Gandalf.
Yeah, an old mentor character.
The old mentor passing the torch to the younger ones. And I think it was necessary. But obviously then they had to bring him back for some exposition and changing the points of view.
But, I mean, like, the character in itself was very cool. He was very mystical. He was very... Absolutely. He had an aura about him, which was very cool, and I think everyone enjoyed.
And he was British.
Yes, he was very British, very well spoken as well.
He was, yes,
very well spoken,
and he brought that gravitas, didn't he? Because it was all young, unknown people, apart from people like Wilf Tarkin, played by blimey!
I was about to say Gregory Rush then. No,
not Gregory Rush.
God, how have I forgotten it?
I can't believe it. Peter Cushing. There we go. Good friends with Christopher Lee.
Yes, indeed. Was.
But it was good to see that he brought that kind of that weight to it.
Yeah.
You know? A trained actor, theatre
I think
actor.
he is one of the underrated bad guys of the Star Wars franchise.
Oh, Peter Cushing.
Yeah, well, yeah, Tarkin in general.
Yeah.
I mean, while he was, I mean, you don't see many evil acts. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, like blowing up a planet with billions of people. That is very evil. Yes, don't get me wrong. But like in a short period of time, like that's one act that he does. Whereas like obviously he's been in the Empire for X amount of time, so it's nice that I presume he will get more flushed out in other series. I know he's.
I think you mean fleshed, not flushed.
Fleshed out. Yes.
He will be flushed out.
Yeah, he will be more fleshed out. Like in things like the Bad Batch. I know he's already in that.
Yes.
Right. So also the Death Star trench run. Like, oh my, like that is it's iconic. It's amazing. I mean, the from the technical perspective of how it was filmed, the CGI around the time, it was just incredible. I remember, like as a kid, like it was just like I want an X-wing, I want a TIE fighter, and I want to just like pretend my living room floor is the Death Star. You know what I mean?
Brilliant. It really was. And I think that's one of the Death Star trench run is one of those examples of when the CGI improvements were necessary. Better. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
And I think, you know, the improvements, I mean, it's iconic. Yeah. Porkins, and then the music starts. And that's the thing. Most of that Death Star trench run doesn't have music.
No.
It's purely the sound effects of the atmosphere, the computers inside. It's only once is it Gold Leader? Gold Leader.
Red Leader.
Red Leader. Well, yeah, once
impacted on the surface.
Once he goes,
we will quote it a lot of we will quote a lot of Star Wars till the day we die. But no, yeah, then the music swells.
Stay on target.
Yes.
And then the music swells, and it's just incredible. Yeah, just incredible.
I thought the chemistry between all three of them, in terms of Han, Luke, and Leia, i.e., Mark, Harrison, and Carrie, I thought the chemistry between all three of them was incredible. From when Luke meets Han in the cantina on Tatooine, chemistry. From when they rescue Leia, chemistry. Like that shootout in the prison, in the prison blocks. Like that, you could just feel the chemistry.
AA-23.
Yeah, that one. Oh god damn! I wasn't going to be able to tell you off the top of my head what it was. Like you could feel the chemistry between all of them already, and it was well portrayed on screen. And obviously, I know that they stayed best pals for like many decades. Yeah. So, one thing. So I remember for about 2 years. So one of my favourite scenes is obviously the twin sun scene.
Oh yes.
So when the music is swelling and you've got Luke on one knee leaning over his like little pit on in Tatooine, and you just see those two suns. It's just like that's just I had that as a wallpaper on my computer for like years because it was just such an amazing shot.
And I think the music, again, going back to John Williams, Star Wars wouldn't be Star Wars without John Williams.
100%.
At least to start it. Obviously, other people like Kevin Kiner have done a fantastic job. But I think without John Williams,
no, it's not Star Wars, is it? Now, obviously, look. As time progressed, George had new technology access to him, and obviously there were I think there was like 4 re-releases of the original trilogy.
Yes, well, you had
one in 99. There was one in 2001.
Special editions.
There was so many editions.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why he did it because obviously he's got new technology. But like there were some scenes in there that were not necessary.
Do you mean like the Ronto walking past the camera, taking up the entire shot?
That was stupid.
Yeah,
the Jabba scene because the CGI was ropey and like him just walking over his tail.
Yeah, I think
that was shocking.
That was something that I think probably could have been kept out.
Didn't they also CGI in Boba?
I don't think they CGI'd in Boba, no.
I think they did.
Did they?
I'm pretty certain they did.
I'm going to have to Google that.
Yeah, have a look, because I'm very certain in the 99 one, he wasn't in it. And then obviously, as his popularity skyrocketed, he was then, like I think CGI'd into the back. I'm not 100% certain.
It's the look he gives at the end. Like, as he's walking out, he just looks at the camera.
Yeah.
And then looks away. It's just like, it's a bit unnecessary.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of those early scenes that were the unnecessary ones. And
it's the choices that I question as well. Like, why? What benefit is there to some of these shots?
How can we not forget the?
So for
audio listeners, I'm mocking the CGI
jerky motions.
The CGI jerky movements that they added in for Han when he was on like sat down next to Greedo
to avoid him shooting first.
It's just like, what? You didn't need to do that. It's just silly.
No, and I think having Han shoot first sets up this initial character of I'm a scoundrel, I'm looking out for myself. The more you have Han Solo portrayed as that at the start of the film, the more impactful it is when he's selfless and saves Luke at the end of that film. Yeah. And I think it was important that stayed there. But,
it's very
I'm sure I saw a picture of, was it George Lucas on set of The Mandalorian wearing a T-shirt that said Han shot first? Or is it Han?
Han,
whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But, yeah, so I
that was
some of the changes were questionable.
Because I think again that one went through different phases. In one of them, it had Greedo's bolt missing. Then there was other ones of just like the timing. It was unnecessary. Right. Yeah. What is your number 5?
Right. My number 5 is tough. This is
because now we're bordering into like
the new era.
Well, not only that, but there's still a lot more to deal with, and now we've got to float them around in terms of where they sit in the list.
Yeah, and these ones are harder to place because I think there's good things about all of them. I have put Rogue One. Have you put that as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I put Rogue One.
And I think 5. It's tough because I actually probably enjoy Rogue One. The fun factor for me is probably a little bit higher than A New Hope, but I put A New Hope higher purely because without A New Hope,
you don't have that.
You don't have the enjoyment. Rogue One really feeds into your enjoyment of A New Hope. Yeah. The music was a bit of a letdown to begin with.
Was it Michael Giacchino?
Giacchino, yeah.
Giacchino. It wasn't bad.
It's grown on me since.
Yeah.
I think it
was because people weren't used to it. That's what it was.
And I think the biggest letdown for me, not the biggest letdown, but the biggest disappointment was the music for like what's his name? The spiritual man, the blind man.
Geez, man, look at that. Our old age is
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Donnie Yen's character.
Donnie Yen's character.
Yeah.
The music for that was lovely. The Guardians of the Wheels
suite.
Oh,
that was really
beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you see the Death Star, and you see Tarkin.
Yeah.
And there is no Imperial March. There is none of the old.
An Imperial March would have been more for Vader, which it does have.
Very, very.
But then I think that was
3 seconds.
I know, but then I think that 3 seconds still does have impact. You know,
it does. But then I would also be looking for the dun 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 dun. That kind of. That was awfully done. I'm not a singer. But that kind of familiarity to make that link. You've got. I don't know. It was missing some of that, like in Solo, where you see the Star Destroyer. They have that iconic music playing. They didn't have that. And I felt that was what was missing. But otherwise, oh my goodness.
It's an amazing... Can you remember? Because I remember when me and Rob went to see it in cinema. Now, one of my positives for this film was some of the CGI. Now, a lot of people slate it because they think that Peter Cushing's representation of Tarkin, the CGI, isn't good. But I tell you now, when me and Rob were sat in the cinema... I
thought they'd done some kind of witchcraft.
Our jaws had dropped.
I thought he'd been brought back.
Yeah, we were like, this is incredible. I was speechless. I was like...
I tell you what, I was fully expecting where you see his reflection. I thought, okay, that's cool. They're just going to have his reflection.
The turnaround. We were.
And they turned around.
I'm pretty sure we looked at each other and we were just like,
yeah. And I distinctly remember I saw it with my wife. Yeah. I think Emma was there, wasn't she? And at one point, I looked at her and I went, that bloke's been dead for 40 years.
Yeah, he's been dead since 99 or something, wasn't it? It was ridiculous.
I say 40 years. He's not been dead for 40 years, but he's been dead for so long, and it's.
It was those tie-ins. So I said that those tie-ins were amazing. Yeah. So there was that. There was obviously Leia's one, which I thought was still good.
And that had particular impact because I think that was the year that she died, wasn't it? It was December
2015.
Yeah, was it 15 or 16?
15, 16, one of those.
And I think that was the last film that I watched. The last line, hope.
Yeah.
And then we learned of her passing, and I think the CGI is a bit dodgy, but you know what?
I don't know. For her, considering obviously the screen time was literally 5 seconds, not even that, compared to Tarkin's one, which is more of a character that you need in this kind of time frame.
Yeah.
And do you know what I think that makes this film so special? No Jedi. There's no lightsabers, barring Vader. There's no Luke. There's no Obi-Wan. It's normal. So it's normal people. These are geezers who are soldiers. They are veterans. They are, as literally, I'm so unprepared in terms of like characters and stuff like that. What's her name?
Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso. Like she's someone who's trying to survive. Like I thought the characters that they had, they were perfect for the roles because like I said, these are people that are soldiers. They are, they're not. They haven't got a lightsaber to help them. They can't like force push someone a mile away.
No.
They shoot on or they die.
But what I did enjoy was that this is still the Star Wars universe.
100%.
There was the mysticism.
Yes.
You still felt, even though the Jedi are gone, you still had that echo.
Yeah.
Of
like
mysticism.
Jeddah.
And
what was this planet?
Chariot
Jeddah?
Imwe was his name.
Chariot
I've just
Imwe.
had to Google it.
Yeah.
But it was just, you still felt the presence.
Yeah, because you were like, when Cassian is talking about them, they're like, yeah, the Guardians of the Wheels. I'm pretty sure I was sat there, I was like, who the hell are the Guardians of the Wheels? Like, what? Who are these people?
Well,
obviously, I'm sure it would have been explained in some lore and stuff, but I hadn't.
Well, funnily enough, I think the first draft of A New Hope was like a Star Wars, and it was called a Star Wars taken from the Journal of the Wills, and that's where they got the Wills from.
Yeah, but like I said, and also it deals with the darker side of war and conflict. Yeah. So that opening scene with Cassian, where he's with his I don't know what he's like, associate, colleague, someone else,
spy.
Yeah, and he shoots him. He just drops him because he knows he's either going to get captured and talk. He can't save him, and you immediately get that feel of like, oh blimey, like this is like the rebels are the good guys here. Like, why has he just killed someone?
It's the desperate measures that are needed.
100%. And then I think the fight scenes were incredible. So going from Jeddah to Edu, and then all the way going to Scarif. That Scarif fight was incredible.
Beautiful.
It was the set piece. I can't remember. I feel like they filmed it on Hawaii. I'm not 100% certain, so don't quote me on that. But the topography of that land was amazing. It was a perfectly set scene. The land battles were brilliant, like in terms of like all these scruffy guerrilla fighters.
Absolutely. Saw Gerrera, who, that was one of the first times that they had taken someone from outside canon, which was I believe he was taken straight from Clone Wars, wasn't he? Clone Wars had come out before before Rogue One, so they'd taken him
and it was a young Saw Gerrera in the Clone Wars as well,
who they've recently brought back in Bad Batch in his younger form.
Yeah,
and it's just fantastic to see them kind of making those links.
Yeah, I think what one scene that stands out for me is literally when the hyperspace scene. I think it's on like a POV over an X-wing, and it literally they drop out, and like there was an element about it that you could tell it was CG, but it looked like they were props.
Yes.
Which really represented like A New Hope and all that kind of stuff, because obviously back in those days it was you couldn't 3D render a model. It was you had the physical model and you whipped it around the environment, and that's what I loved about it. It looked so good.
And I think what that probably links into something like Battlefront, where they actually scanned in the props, didn't they? There was a lot more photorealism with the models. It was just fantastic. I completely agree with you.
Yeah,
actually, it looked so real, but it was so technically beautiful and advanced. Yeah.
So like other scenes they brought back. So they had the Doctor and the
Dr. Evazan and Pondo
Baba on that. That was very cool. Like there was a lot of fan service, but the fan service worked. There was Gold Leader and Red Leader.
Oh, that was incredible.
Again, that was like literally like a second or two.
Incredible.
But it brought it in. It looked amazing. What were some of the other ones?
I don't think there was many more than that.
I mean, we got to see Vader on Mustafar, which was that was very cool.
The only planet they didn't name, because no one needs
an introduction
to know that name. And the lore it sets up that he's got a castle on the very plains where he became Darth Vader.
Was that confirmed?
It's been confirmed. Okay. In the comics.
Okay, because I knew that had been floating around. It's like a. Oh, is that where
that
it
was?
Is?
In fact, I think his castle is built over the water, over the lava fall.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. And obviously, one of the big things as well is you've got Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa.
That was nice.
Tragedy of that scene is like, I have a friend, I'll send.
And it was that nice bit as well when they were around in the command center, and he just steps forward from the shadows.
And the Force theme.
You're just like,
the Force theme comes
my
out.
My guy. But obviously there were. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a perfect film. So I knew that there was production problems. So the problem is, right. So because I enjoy the film so much, I can't sit there and go, right, so the director was sacked, I believe, 80% through the film.
I don't
or
think
was it post-production? I think they finished
it was during post-production. I think they did reshoots, extensive amount of reshoots. It was Gareth Edwards that did it originally, and then they brought somebody else in. But rather unlike with Solo, where it was, who were the two people?
Lord and Miller.
Lord and Miller. Lord and Miller said, "Nah, stuff this, we're out."
Yeah.
Gareth Edwards worked with. Oh, I wish I knew the director's name.
What, with the new one that took him over?
Yes.
Because like the problem is that like there is, there's that scene in the trailer, or there was a scene in the trailer where they're all running on the beach, and you can see Jin's got the plans, like like that hard drive, like obviously that got cut, and obviously that was part of the main like stuff. So like for me, I can't sit there and go, okay, that looks like it's a reshoot, like that looks like it's a new scene, that looks like it wasn't meant to be in there. I struggle with that kind of stuff when I'm looking at it, going, okay, was that scene?
Yeah, it's not like a Suicide Squad where suddenly the main guy's got a different haircut.
Yeah, or anything like that. Yeah.
It was quite subtle, and I think because Gareth Edwards, I think it was Tony Gilroy, the guy who took over, they had that collaboration, and I think there wasn't any. I don't think there was as bad a blood. I think probably what happened was it was quite dark. Yeah. I think it was probably too dark with Vader
I mean,
slaughtering people left, right, and centre.
But then that scene was incredible. Like that atmosphere, the terror, the sheer fear. Like as soon as his lightsaber ignited, you could see those rebel troopers. Like they're just like, mate, we're done. Like what are we supposed to do against that? Like
that to this day, I'm getting goosebumps now.
You just think about it.
Brilliant. And that was one of the bits where actually, do you know what? I didn't mind not having the Imperial March during that bit, because actually that was incredible music.
I was going to say, because I feel like that music instilled more terror.
Absolutely.
Like, that was something out of like a slasher film. Not because of like the gore or anything like that.
It was a psychological terror and the
it's the awe of it as well.
Inevitability of it.
He's not running at people like jumping around like jump scare and anything. He's literally just walking towards them.
And actually, I would say that scene, up until that scene, my thoughts on Vader in that film had been a bit questionable because I don't know what it was. Obviously, it was wonderful to have James Earl Jones back doing the voice.
But I think it was the fan service, wasn't it? I think that's partly.
I loved having him in there.
Yeah.
It didn't look like him.
Yeah,
like obviously
the suit looked a bit more fuller.
It looked and the way he was walking, I think obviously David Prowse had such a specific way of walking with him that actually it didn't look. He almost floated, whereas with Vader in the original trilogy, he swaggered, didn't he? He had that kind of force behind him, and I think something was missing there, and so it didn't quite fit until that scene, and then I was like, do you know what, I'm in.
Yeah, but the problem is with that film, it's that because there are a lot of characters, you don't have that much time to flesh them out. Stop. Don't know why I keep saying you don't have time to flush them away. No, you don't have enough time to get to know them. Like I think with Jin and Cassian, maybe a little bit, but Chirrut and his buddy, there was Riz Ahmed's the pilot.
Now don't forget the
Portcullet. Yeah, Portcullet. I mean, again, that wasn't really necessary in that film, was it? It was a bit bizarre. But then people complain about that, but it was like, what, 2 minutes of screen time? So like, relax yourself. It's 2 minutes.
In the long run,
in the grand scheme of things. But it's a shame because obviously I think, and then how can we forget like the droid?
K2SO.
K2. He
played amazingly by Alan Tudyk.
Yes, he was incredible. Like you had C-3PO, which was like a comic relief, like.
That was kind of not silly humour, but it was humour at the expense of C-3PO. But now you had K2, who was very sarcastic with very dry humour.
It reminded me a lot of HK from the KOTOR series.
Yes.
100%.
Yes, absolutely. And I just, he did a fantastic job. I'm really looking forward to him hopefully being in season 2 of Cassian Andor.
That would be cool because it was the way it was just like you said, like the sarcasm of him. But then as soon as he got shot. Spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen this film from many years ago.
What's wrong with you? Joker. He gets like blown apart. And I think I remember I sat there in the cinema with you. I was like, none of these guys are making it out. I was like...
If K2SO, if this beloved character is making it out, they're all gone.
I was like, none of them are making it, are they? Yeah. They're going to die.
And I think actually reflecting on it, just you saying that, I don't know about how you feel. Jyn Erso is not the most likeable character in this film.
But then I think that is betrayed because of how she was raised. I think the actress played her well because of the fact that she's got no real cause. She's got no real loyalty to the cause. She's just doing it because of the sake of her dad. You know what I mean? And like, also, can we talk about Mads Mikkelsen? Like, mate, like he was actually kind of like, while again brief screen time, he was a cool character.
He was, absolutely. And actually, it was so...
It was the line of, they call it the Death Star. Like, the way he said that, I was just like, it's a different take on saying just like, oh, Death Star.
Can we also address the fact that actually people mocked A New Hope, going, well, why did they build a giant hole in it for it to be blown up in? This explains it.
Exactly.
And, you know, you've got one line in dialogue in the opening credits of A New Hope. They've stolen the Death Star plans.
Yeah, and they've made a whole film out of that.
And it's just... It's the best film that's ever been made to fill a plot hole.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just incredible.
It's brilliant. I thought, as soon, like I said, going back to everyone dying, like he died. It's like no one makes it out, which is really, but then it brings it home to like the fact that
different.
Yeah.
And
which is a real shame because like I said, by the end of it, you feel for Jin, you like Cassian, you Chirrut. Like, you don't want him to die.
I think, on reflection, Chirrut is my favourite character in that film.
So, obviously, in that film, they create the saying, I'm one with the Force is with me.
Yes.
So, I was playing The Old Republic ages ago, and they introduced that line.
Did they?
Yeah, so there was one of the latest DLCs that came out on it. There's a fight with a boss. And he has all his, like, your main character has all the allies that come forth, and he uses that line, and I was like, oh my god, that's actually amazing. That's so sick.
They've also used that in Clone Wars,
Yes.
series 7 with when Ahsoka's trying to find the Rex's chip, and she repeats it. I'm one with the Force is with me. Oh, it's just it's these little strands of connectivity that bind.
Did you say episode? Did you say number 5 or did I say number 5?
You said it. And then we both agreed on it.
Yeah.
No, I said it.
Okay, so number 6. So you said number 5. So I should say number 6. Okay. Now this could be interesting if it's a. So I've gone for the Phantom Menace.
So am I. Oh, you couldn't make this stuff up.
You couldn't make it up. Like, we do have. I promise, guys, we do have differing opinions.
There must be.
Well, I'd like to think so. If we can get a whole, imagine if we got a whole list, and they're all the same, that would be mad. So obviously this came out in cinemas in 1999, like before the turn of the millennium, which is mad. I would have been 4. You would have been what, 7. Like 7.
Yep.
So I can't remember off the top of my head going to the cinemas and seeing it.
I can remember coming out.
Oh, is it?
I remember because spoilers, Qui-Gon dies.
Yeah.
I remember coming out of that shocked and heartbroken, and I felt empty inside.
Yeah. I think the characters of the Phantom Menace were cool. I thought Qui-Gon Jinn, like Liam Neeson, was amazing as him. Like,
Absolutely.
I wish we had more of him. Ewan McGregor as a young Obi-Wan, perfect. Literally,
absolutely
you can't perfect. And do you know what? Jake Lloyd got a lot of slack, a lot of stick. A lot of stick. But his portrayal of a young Anakin Skywalker, it wasn't bad.
I think the question would have been raised is, do we need to see a young Anakin Skywalker? But I think the thing is, we were seeing, and I think it was the people's problem with it is it humanizes Vader.
Yeah.
And you can never imagine little Jake Lloyd, Darth Vader.
Yeah, exactly.
Slaughtering the people in Rogue One.
What was the there was that cool promotional material of
Anakin, the shadow.
Yeah, and then on the silhouette on the hut was of Vader, and you just think, oh my word, how, like, this is where the mystery was. Oh my god, I want to see how this kid becomes that evil maniacal Sith Lord. Like, what?
But you just think about everything else it introduced. Coruscant, that hadn't been established in canon at all.
No.
Just the idea of a Jedi High Council, the organisation, the Senate, the galactic organisation.
I think a lot of people, that's what people got turned off by. Like, people didn't like the politics of it.
It became very political.
The problem was that sets it up.
But I would say Star Wars has always been political because it's been about a tyrannical regime where people are rising up against that tyrannical regime.
Yeah.
I would say Star Wars has always been political. It gets more spiritual towards the end. But it's always been about injustice from a dictatorship and a tyrannical government.
Yeah. But I mean, like, we had this idea. So the original trilogy came out, there was this empire. So when they start talking about a republic, you're just like, oh, hold on a minute. Wait, how does it go? Again, it sets up a mystery. Like, how does it go from a republic, which is a democracy, and obviously we love democracy. How does it go to
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
How does it go from that to an empire? You're like, whoa, hold on a minute. But the problem is, like, unless you have an audience that has an understanding, like when I'm a kid, I don't know. I'm not going to know the difference between an empire and a republic. You know, what I mean, that comes with age and understanding
and how
and
the
maturity.
process works.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, obviously, it's tricky, isn't it? But I think it was just fantastic that they went there, and I think I, being older and having watched it, you know, with a more worldly view, I suppose, and you know, more aware view. Yeah, I definitely appreciate it more.
Yeah, definitely. I thought there was great use of practical and CGI effects in this one.
Yes,
it was that time frame where the CGI is getting there, but then we got to use some practical
and actually,
stuff.
There's a famous quote. I can't remember who says it. Dave Filoni said it. There were more the film with the most, the Star Wars film with the most practical effects. Phantom Menace.
Oh.
And people often go, oh, the CGI is horrible. Well, it was new. You know, 2000s, what other films were around in the 2000s that had graphics like that? The battle droids looked real when I was, you know, looking back.
Do you remember, I remember when we were kids, like we'd go into Toys R Us.
Oh, the toys.
So there was a toy, basically there was this, for those of you who don't know, like, I'm pretty sure it's shut down now, isn't it?
Yes, rest in peace Toys R Us in Britain anyway.
Yeah, that you would go into this giant toy store and you'd go around the corner and like there was this section where they would set up a specific film that's coming out and all its merchandise, and literally this corner had like just everything Star Wars.
Giant Darth Maul head was
Phantom Menace stuff. Oh mate, it was amazing.
Beautiful.
It was brilliant. But like it
had the little comlink, the chips.
Yeah, they were amazing.
With the big reader.
Do you remember the battleships like game that we got?
Mother still has that.
I know she does. Oh my god, we could probably flog that for a bit, mate. That's probably something like
we could play a game of it on here.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. And obviously one thing we're missing out on is that lightsaber fight at the end. Like,
that's
if you put Episode 3's lightsaber fight and Episode 1, like it's minuscule in terms of which one comes out on top. Like, and had this double-bladed lightsaber which you'd never seen before.
Oh, the introduction of the double-bladed.
Yeah, you never saw that. Like, that's new. You had a 2v1 situation, which was amazing. Like, Ray Park knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely.
Literally.
And let's not forget Peter Serafinowicz. I can't say his name. Peter Serafinowicz. Yeah. Who did the voice. Before it was Sam Witwer, it was Peter Serafinowicz who did the voice. He dubbed the voice of Darth Maul.
I thought it was just Ray Park.
No.
Really?
They felt Darth Maul. They felt Ray Park had too high a voice, kind of cockney voice. So they recorded.
I always thought it was him.
No, it was Peter Serafinowicz.
Because he was a short fellow. Like when you look at Ray Park, he's got to be like 5'8", 5'9", something like that.
He's shorter than that, I think. Because Ian McDiarmid isn't a tall man either, is he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was just...
It was an amazing fight scene.
Yeah, there are kind of... I think the aliens, in some of them, they use controversial accents. I think the Nemoidians probably would have benefited from being slightly more actual, using an alien language.
Yeah.
But then I think that does make it harder for kids to follow.
Yeah.
But I think there was some dodgy choices there. But even
some of the writing, not the acting, I think, was probably the issues with that one. The pod race was amazing. Like that was.
Absolutely.
Do you know? I'm trying to like put it in perspective in terms of like what it felt like in terms of a race. Like there not only were like racing scenes out there in films where you just like.
The only one I can think of is one that I've only ever seen once, which is the Chariot Scene in Ben Hur.
Do you know what? I was actually thinking that as well. there was something about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It had that real tension.
Yeah, 100%. It was a cool setup.
And props to Ben Burt, the sound designer on that, recording the engine sounds and like the Death Star trench run. That pod race scene doesn't have music up until the point where it's just Sebulba and Anakin.
To create that atmosphere, to create that tension of just like the sound.
The music is the engines.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, literally, it's like it's probably what it feels like to be like a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
Or something along those kinds of lines.
Formula One.
Yeah, hearing the rasping noises of every style of engine.
And in the theatre, when Sebulba's engines come up behind Anakin,
that loud thudding,
my goodness.
You just feel like, oh my god, these are like huge. Like what
incredible.
The heck? That's like a V8 versus like a 1 litre. You know what I mean? It's just like I mean, we have to talk about Jar Jar a little bit in terms of like
Jar Jar is one of those.
What was the decision behind that? Because like,
see, I didn't mind Jar Jar as much.
I didn't. I could understand why
but
people
I think it's
got
because
annoyed
we were
with him.
younger.
Yeah.
I think if you went into it, the Phantom Menace was my first theatrical exposure to Star Wars, and I think I didn't mind it as much because in my mind, it was funny. It was. I don't even think it was funny. I just think it was. That's comedy. It's a bit silly. Look, there's an amazing lightsaber fight. I think it was kind of overshadowed appropriately. I actually find some of the usage of Jar Jar in the Clone Wars more annoying.
Is it?
Actually, I find. I think the tone. The problem was it was your expectations and the expectations of the older generation. They're going into, the Phantom Menace. They're expecting Shakespeare.
Yeah,
and they're not getting that. Yeah. They get the childlike element, but it's supposed to be for 12-year-olds.
Yeah, Star Wars is for kids, as George keeps saying. Our buddy George, good old George.
Which is why we're just big kids. We never grow up.
Yeah, but no, I mean it was a very cool scene, and I suffer from thalassophobia, which is the fear of like deep water, and I think that probably comes from the underwater scenes.
There's always a bigger fish.
Yes, that literally. But that's
even then that was. Even though that was brilliant, and it was beautiful, it was realistic, and just
one thing
the imagination.
We're not talking about the set pieces. Like Naboo, that looked incredible.
Oh yes, filmed in Italy or Spain, some of it I think.
Yeah, with the palace. Like literally, like that the set pieces there were incredible.
And the famous, is it Casualty or Holby City veteran? What's his name? Hugh Quashie or Rick? I want to call him Rick, but I don't know if his name. Captain Panaka.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely astounding.
Yeah,
really good. I loved him.
Very cool. Very cool. But no, like that palace. The palace scenes there were amazing. Naboo was cool. Introduction to Coruscant, a planet that is an entire just one city. Amazing. That's cool. The concept of that.
I think that had only been introduced in I can't remember whether that had even been introduced in a book, because there were the Thrawn trilogy. Yeah. I'm sure that might have mentioned Coruscant,
but I
must
have.
I like only in name, in passing. There was something I was going to say, and I've forgotten it.
Oh, terrible.
Something about it.
But no, set pieces. It was nice to go back to Tatooine. It was nice to see Tatooine again. While it wasn't Mos Eisley, it was Mos Espa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, which made it different because you're not revisiting. Unlike The Mandalorian, where you see the same shot. Oh look, there's where Obi-Wan stood, and it was
a bit
go
too
to the
much
same
fan
place.
service.
This was like, hey, we're on the same planet, but we're going to show you a different bit.
Yeah.
And I think that was brilliant because actually it did allow you to get the scope of the planet, but also bring something familiar in.
100%. Right, what is your number 7?
Right, my number 7. Now, this...
Is this going to break? Is this going to break the streak?
I don't know. These are the tricky ones. Yeah. Because this has gone... I've done this for the feeling it gave me.
Okay.
The Force Awakens.
The streak continues. I too.
Purely because, we thought Star Wars was finished after...
Dunzo.
Yeah, after Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And then it came back. And it was incredible. The trailers, the hype.
Yeah.
I remember, I was working in a shop at the time, and I remember going on a break and watching the trailer on my phone.
Do you know what I remember? I literally put this in my notes. So I remember I was in a lot of I was in Spoons. So there was Wetherspoons, the pub basically in the UK, and they had a TV on the thing, and I remember just sat there having a drink, and just the scene of the Falcon flying through, they're just like the news are reporting,
and
on
it was
new trailer.
The motions that you had during the asteroid chase, the familiarity there.
The new trailer of the new Star Wars, blah blah blah. And to be honest with you, I thought it did bring back a good feeling. Like I was sat there going, okay, cool.
I can't wait to go back there.
New Star Wars. It was very nostalgic. Like you think, oh wow, it's coming back. It's coming home. But obviously, different style. But yeah, it was. What was it? 2015.
Yes.
So we hadn't had a Star Wars for like 10 years.
10 years,
which is a long time. So like this is a big reintroduction. I thought some of the characters were quite cool. So like Rey's character. And I like the way that a lot of them were British. While John Boyega had to put on an American accent, which is really annoying because he's got a very nice British accent. There was Daisy Ridley as well. Relatively unknown.
And I think that was key. I do think that was key. And I think, just thinking back to that trailer and going back, linking it back to the Phantom Menace, where you had the reveal of the Darth Maul double-ended lightsaber. Double-sided, double-ended.
Double-bladed.
Seeing Kylo Ren's lightsaber.
Yeah.
The crossguard saber. Like, whoa.
Yeah, that's different.
Hold the phone.
Yeah.
And the possibilities there. I think it was the wonder and the possibilities and the mystery.
It opened doors.
It did.
Yeah.
And it made you wonder about the past. It had some mysteries there. And it was good to see the original cast.
Yeah.
Apart from one.
Yeah.
And I think that is where the biggest flaw for me is there, like I was saying in A New Hope, where you had the old handing on to the new. I didn't feel there was enough of that.
You were like you needed the old to help the new. Almost.
And I suppose this criticism is of the sequel trilogy as a whole, not specifically of the Force Awakens, but there needed to be a bit more of the collaboration between Luke, Han, and Leia, Chewie, and I think that was missing. But the wonder, the storytelling possibilities. It was, the new characters. Kylo Ren was an engaging new character. Hux seemed, very,
there was potential.
Yeah, there was potential.
And I felt like, going back to talking about your Kylo Ren, like up until a certain scene, you'd just seen him with his helmet on, so you thought, this guy's evil. Blah, blah. I thought it humanized him so much. As soon as he took his helmet off, and Adam Driver is just like, he's just a guy. Like there's no mangled scars, there's no robotics or anything like that. He's just a guy. He's just a dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it humanised him so much. You're like, whoa, hold on a minute. Why is this guy so evil? But
that made it so interesting because we've had the masked, mechanical, inhuman villain in Vader.
Yeah.
And I think it was so good to have this conflicted, almost the opposite of Anakin, who is dark, but he wants to go to the light. He feels the pull of the light. I think it was very compelling.
Yeah. Obviously... It wasn't perfect.
A New Hope ripoff.
Yes, literally. I think
another Death Star.
Yeah, literally. I think everyone looked at it going, like, "Why? Like, what are you doing?" Like, I think JJ, whether that's a lack of creativity on his side, I don't know. But it was very uninspiring to be like, "Oh, look, it's just another Death Star." It's like, what? Come on, man.
And also the way they trivialized it. They were like, "Oh, we've blown up one Death Star. What's wrong with this?" This is a planet killer. This is a solar system killer.
Yeah.
And I think I love the name Star Killer. Harken back to The Force Unleashed.
Yeah. The fourth Unleashed.
The Fourth Unleashed.
No, understood.
I do think that there needed to be more build-up to Starkiller Base.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe that should have been around for the whole trilogy.
Well,
as revealed at the end.
As a little teaser for everyone, in a future episode, we're going to be talking about how we are going to fix some of these sequel trilogies. And I think one of the biggest things, I'll hint at it now, is changing Starkiller Base to something else. Not a doomsday weapon. I will say that. I think if it was a different situation... or a different facility, I think it could...
Are you thinking like Starforge, like in KOTOR? Like
yes. Rather than it being a doomsday weapon, which is exactly like The New Hope, you change it to something else. You change it to,
something other than a giant space laser.
Yeah, a giant factory. I don't know, something along those kinds of lines.
You could go very mystical. I'm thinking now of the Darth Bane trilogy, where there was a kind of world-ending bomb. It was a Sith bomb that they did a little ritual around, and it ended. Or I agree with you.
Like there were possibilities, and we can go into that in detail.
Too much familiarity.
Yeah, Rey being a Mary Sue.
Now, I don't...
Talk to me, brother. Talk to me.
I don't necessarily agree that she's a Mary Sue.
Do you not? I do. I think she's a Mary Sue. I think... do you know what scene does it for me? It's when Finn sees her getting kidnapped, and she just all of a sudden just flips on this mode and just beats the crap out of them, the guys. And I'm just like...
Which one?
So when they're on Jakku,
he's
just taking his drink... and he's running through the tents, and he sees Rey. There's these two guys that are going after BB-8.
Oh, and the scavengers.
She just flips on a switch and starts beating her up. But I think there was no premise for that. There was nothing to say, okay, this girl is like a martial arts she's got a level of martial arts or anything like that. It's just like, where did this come from?
But
there was no setup for it.
I see where you're coming from, but what I would say is actually that scene, it's nothing, you know.
It's a minor gripe.
It demonstrates that she's been raised on a hostile planet and is capable of defending herself. We're not seeing like,
but then like
she's not doing Donna Yen, Chirrut Imwe kind of
I get that,
martial
but then
arts.
like, there's been no premise for that. Like, you haven't seen that. You haven't gone.
What would you see? What would you want to see? Some kind of like training montage?
Yes. Well, not a training montage per se, but again, linking into how we would fix it, give her some kind of like mentor. So, for example, you know how she lives in that AT-AT? Mate, maybe she lives with like an old geezer or something, and she does like training with him. So then just a minor thing where I can be like, okay, well, that explains why she can beat the crap out of those people, because she's got some geezer training them. Like, boom, a scene like that could be like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, slap it in there, mate, and it already removes the fact that she's almost like a Mary Sue. And I think the other scene, it really gets people.
The James Bond?
Yeah, the mind control scene. It's just like...
And I think
it's like it comes from nowhere. Like where, like what? Did you read it in a wiki article? Like how are you then all of a sudden able to do this? You're like accessing, like, have you restricted a firewall so you can access it in your head? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what?
And I think this is where the lack of
creativity,
a lack of planning.
100%.
Because if they were going to go if they knew, which they didn't, from the beginning that she was going to be Palp's granddaughter.
Spoilers, guys.
Spoilers. Then there needed to be a scene during the mind probe that Kylo does of her that kind of... Because for me, that's the point when her abilities are unlocked and the Force awakens within her. But I think there needed to be something... Rather than just the shaky hand, there needed to almost be a visual there where you can see, again, flashes of her past, flashes of, you know,
who she could,
a very familiar hooded figure. Something that would then go, okay, something's been unlocked. And then maybe you would see...
Skill point achieved.
Level up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think there needed to be subtle things to build up to the point. Because how does she know to just say it?
Exactly. It's just like, what? She hasn't seen another Jedi do it.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't been anyone else in the film up to that point. Has she heard of it through tongue and mouth? Probably not. Because
tongue and mouth?
Mouth and whatever the terminology is. You know what I mean?
Foot and mouth.
No, no, but she hasn't heard about like, the Jedi could control people with their minds.
Yeah.
Because obviously she's been stuck on Jakku. She's like, it's rumours to her. Like, even like going on, like when she's introduced to Han, and she gets the information about the Kessel Run wrong. Because obviously, again, it's
all legend, isn't it?
Exactly.
And I think what they needed to do there was make it more natural, rather than "you will let me go."
Yeah,
it'll be like, "Oh, let me go,"
and it's
then
almost like a questioning,
like a statement, just like, you know, just like you would naturally say, "Oh, let me go," and then he'll go, "Okay, I will let you go."
Yeah,
and I think
that adds an element of, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah, and then her shock and surprise, rather than it seems more predetermined.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with you,
yeah.
And I definitely think the Force abilities, she does seem more like a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
I would say her physical abilities, I don't have a problem with, because she's grown up on a harsh planet with, you know, bandits and scavengers.
Yeah.
It's more the Force abilities that I think there needed to be more connective tissue.
Yeah.
You know, because we didn't know who she was, even if it's just she can hear things like what, you know, he reaches into her mind and suddenly she's aware of things.
Yeah.
She can hear what people are thinking or something like that.
And mate, Poe was underused. Like the first opening scenes with him, like you got an element of sarcasm, a little bit of banter with him. He seemed like a cool character,
and actually good humour.
Yeah, good humour.
Yes,
yeah,
not
like,
for his mother.
Yeah,
that's not the kind of humour.
No, it was. So
who talks first? You talk first?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like you got an element of he's a bit of a sassy guy,
and you had the kind of K2SO, bit of K2SO
like,
humour.
We just didn't really get him. Like you saw the bromance between him and Finn, like blossom, like when they're in the TIE fighter. That's a cool scene. And then what? Like literally, like they crash down on Jakku. We don't see him again till. He was very much till Takadana, isn't it? Like there's a massive gap where you don't like, and obviously he was him, Daisy, and John were among the characters and the actors that were this new trilogy was based upon, and you get like 10 minutes of screen time. Like, come on, man, you're gonna do better than that.
Yeah,
like use him, utilize him.
Yeah, and I think it was tricky because he was originally going to be the one who died quite early on, like Harrison. I think Han Solo was supposed to die in an early script of A New Hope. He was supposed to die quite early. I think it was a similar kind of thing. Can we talk about railings for a minute? Railings, because no construction site ever would construct a bridge that narrow and not have railings.
But here's my question to you. Maybe it wasn't a bridge. Maybe it was simple, just some racking for some piping. Who knows, mate? Who knows?
Support beam. Yeah. That's the main support beam.
Yeah, exactly. It's a support beam.
It's holding everything together.
Yeah, it kills me that like you could tell Harrison just really just wanted to do it for a paycheck. He didn't care. Like let's face, like he was his passion for Star Wars is different than someone like Mark.
I think he does it for the paycheck.
Don't come at me like Harrison like with some kind of like defamation of character or something.
Like Harrison's going to be watching this.
like you could tell like he just like he wanted to die. I mean it was
the death he always wanted, and I don't think it was necessarily a wasted death. I think it was narratively it was a good move.
Yeah.
I think the execution of it was flagpoled as soon as he went out there. It was flagpoled. I have to say, they redeemed it slightly with Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I did like that scene.
That, it works. Yeah. At the time with Force Awakens, it was like, but they made it work, and I feel like it worked better with the counterpoint of Rise of Skywalker.
And it was annoying as well because there was an element of, is Finn's character going to be a Jedi? We didn't know anything about that. I mean,
I don't think they knew.
No, I don't think they knew. They were just winging it. I did like the scene where the lightsaber just like flings past into Rey's hand. That was very cool.
That was brilliant. The music, the original John Williams Force theme music.
That was very cool.
I mean, there was a lot of talk of whether it should have been Luke on that planet. Wow. And that should have been his moment to arrive, and it flung into his hand.
And I don't know. Like, unless they would have done something like in the Mandalorian finale where they would have had like you would have seen an X-wing like fly past or something like that. I feel like there wouldn't have been much set up for it.
No.
Like, where does he come from?
I agree.
There would have been a giant plot hole of like, how did he know? How has he got there?
That might have then led quite nicely into a different version of Last Jedi.
Yeah, maybe.
Where then he takes her back to Acto and kind of trains her, mentors her. I came here for you. He felt the Force awaken within her. I'm writing this right now in my head.
Yeah.
I think.
What are you doing? Yeah. Right, number 8.
Should I do my number 8, or do you want to do? Did I do? I think no. I did Force Awakens.
Yeah.
You
so number 8, I put Attack of the Clones.
Oh, we have differed. Oh, the paths have diverted.
We finally got a different one. Holy moly!
Right.
Okay, so I put Attack of the Clones. Like, it was divisive. It was very divisive. But like some of the scenes in that, like the assassination chase scene, like. That sequence was really blooming good. Like you get drawn into it. Who are these people that wanted to kill him? Like finding out all this kind of information. I thought that was cool.
Also, what a lovely different side to Coruscant, the dark, seedy side of it.
Exactly.
Really good.
Seeing like scummy like back alleys and stuff like that. It was a very well acted, well put together scene, and I love the dynamics and dynamism between Obi-Wan and Anakin. It was a very brotherly relationship.
You could also see the conflict.
Yeah, it was that scene that opening scene of where they're going up the lift, and you can tell that he's nervous to see Padme again, and then like talking about falling into a nest of Gundarks and all that kind of stuff.
You fell into that nightmare, Master.
Yeah,
I
literally.
You.
Like, okay, yeah, maybe the writing was a bit meh, but like you could tell the chemistry between the two of them. Like you could tell that this wasn't
on point.
Yeah, this wasn't a father-son. This was a brother-brother.
Yeah.
You're my brother. No, like you could tell that was there. I do understand that it was a bit of a slow film. Like there were elements where it was like I think the first and second act were a bit slow.
I think it needed to be though.
Yeah, because it was a lot of setting up for stuff.
And I think because a lot happened politically, you had to introduce in the 10 years between this Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. You had to introduce the idea of that there's this group of secessionists. They wanted to
leave.
I can't remember what the word is.
Separatists.
Yeah, they wanted to divide. You had to set that up,
and obviously you had a line in episode 4 about that my father fought in the Clone Wars. What was the Clone Wars? What does that involve? Oh, well, it involved clones. Right, we need to set those up. But I thought the last 20 minutes of Attack of the Clones was amazing.
I think after the droid factory.
Yeah.
Because I have my issues with the Droid Factory.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
With, I mean...
Too much slapstick comic relief, almost.
Well, Natalie Portman herself, like, she said, it's so hard to know what I'm doing because I'm just running through these blue things. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get to that arena...
Yeah, the arena scene. Yeah.
Brilliant.
How, to quote the Lord of the Rings production team, they used a bigature. So it was a miniature arena, but obviously it's scaled up to look big. Like, I thought that was amazing. The introduction, again, this concept of, you've seen 1-on-1 and 2-on-1 Jedi fights. You had never seen like a mass
This was
brawl.
An army of
This
Jedi.
were literally like lightsabers igniting all over the place. You had like 50, 60 plus Jedis fighting around. You could see that they were technically outnumbered. Like, you could see their strugglings because that's how many of them died, but it was so cool.
And I think it's also, in reflection, it's important, because we didn't talk about Order 66 at all during our little discussion about Revenge of the Sith, but actually I think this sets up the fact that the Jedi are not invincible.
Yes,
you see
true.
Jedi die. With
easily.
enough numbers, they die.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important.
It's that last shot when they're all like huddled together. There's only like 20 or so of them.
And they just so happen to be the best ones.
Yeah,
the most famous one. You've got Aayla Secura.
Yeah, exactly.
Plo Koon.
Yeah. Like Coyote Mundi, like literally, like none of like you're like, oh my word, like they started out with like 100 plus whatever. There's only like 20 of them left. Like,
but it brought a level of seriousness, because if they'd have wiped the floor with the droids,
then you would have gone like, well, that's a bit stupid.
You wouldn't have believed Order 66.
No, exactly. And can we talk about Christopher Lee as Count Dooku? Like,
absolutely incredible.
I think the scene that gets me is when he's trying to convince Obi-Wan, when Obi-Wan is suspended, he's trying to convince him of everything. Such brilliant acting.
Pivotal scene, because actually he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
For once he's telling the truth, and obviously naturally Obi-Wan doesn't believe him.
Of course.
And that has repercussions throughout.
And you know what I would love to see? I would love to see so Yoda trained Dooku and Dooku trained Qui-Gon.
Yes.
So I would love to see that kind of dynamic story at some point. I would love to see who could play a young Christopher Lee, who could do that, who could play a Dooku. That would be amazing. So that last 20 minutes, the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan and him, and then obviously ending with Yoda's fight. While that was very hard to do, because you can understand, like, you're not going to be able to do like a proper human actor versus like some kind of bull that like you interact with. They did it very well considering all the situations.
I think it was very impressive, considering this was the first time. What was it, 2003
or something like 2002, something 2002, 2003.
Yeah, something like that. You would never have thought technologically.
And plus, like, we've seen Yoda, but we've never seen him fight.
No,
like this was the first time we'd see him do.
And actually, this was the first time we forget to mention. This is the first film where they had CGI Yoda.
Yeah,
because technically in the first one,
when it was released, it was a
very
puppet.
Strange looking puppet.
Yeah, the puppet, and then that got edited
for the Blu-ray release. Yeah, absolutely.
So we'd never seen it before. We don't know how it's going to happen, and you could see that even he's like 900 odd years old. He's still bouncing around the place, putting up a fair strength, and you can see the power of the Force within him when he's
absolutely
when he stops that like pillar thing smushing him. But obviously, again, I mean, it's number 8 for a reason. There are some dodgy parts on it. I mean, the romance between them.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know.
Floating fruit.
I don't know if you. Oh God, yeah, that's terrible. Have you? I don't know if you've seen on Twitter recently. There's a lot of the picnic scene. There's a lot of memes going around.
Yeah.
Like that's been. I don't know why that's blowing up now. There's so many memes going on around it. But no, I mean. It's a tricky one because I don't think it was poorly acted. I think it was poorly written again.
Yes.
I think George's.
I truly, deeply love you.
Yeah, I don't think writing is his strong suit.
Well, no, I would say writing as in the overarching story.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think dialogue
wasn't his thing.
Dire.
Yeah,
he puts the dire in dialogue.
Yeah, I think it could have been better, and I wish we saw more Django. Like. The scenes that we got with him, action, cool. Again, you're like, oh, hang on, he's a blue and silver version of Boba. Oh, look, there is a young Boba. Oh, I want more.
But do you know what? I actually think because Boba was such a mysterious character, it was good to have an element of mystery to him, to Django, and I think it was portrayed brilliantly.
Yeah.
The echoes that now. I'm just a man making my way in the universe.
Yeah.
To
that got memed massively because of the Mandalorian.
Oh, it's just. I think the links there are just fantastic, and he's a brilliant character.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of people had a problem with, Boba, played brilliantly by Daniel Logan,
Yeah.
having an origin story, much like they had an issue with, toddler Anakin Skywalker. They didn't like seeing Boba Fett as a kid.
So, what is your number 8 then? This is where we can finally ask this question. What is your number 8?
Well, my number 9 is Attack of the Clones. So
okay,
I wasn't too far off. But my number 8 is Last Jedi.
Oh, okay.
Because I actually, as much as I hate the Canto Bight stuff, it's awful, and Finn is wasted in that movie. I love the Luke Skywalker stuff.
Okay.
And I think it echoes, because obviously, again, Return of the Jedi is my favourite film. It echoes Return of the Jedi so wonderfully.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful send-off. Yeah. That I would say you couldn't have asked for a better send-off for that character. Whether it should have happened in this film or not, it was a beautiful send-off of pacifism, not using a lightsaber, not literally staring, facing down the entire First Order.
Yeah.
It's the throwing away of the lightsaber.
Yeah.
And I think it echoes beautifully the exile that
Luke had gone through.
That Luke went through, that Anakin and Obi-Wan... it's not Anakin, Yoda and Obi-Wan went through.
How almost mentors are destined to live alone almost,
And it's that idea, it was that scene with Yoda is brilliant.
When he's tried to destroy the tree.
Yeah, they are what is it? We are what they grow beyond.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And I just think that is such an important message, that people fail.
Yeah.
And we learn...
Mistakes are acceptable.
Yeah. And pass on what you have learned. Yes, your knowledge and wisdom, but failures. Learn from your failures.
Yeah.
I think that is such an important part of the story, that, people are like, oh, where's my Luke Skywalker? Ignite the green.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for that, but this is a human character.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you have that echo of Luke holding the saber over Kylo, as he was holding the saber over Vader. What do I need to do to stop this this Vader-like character?
And it's that almost a different point of view. So Ben is laying there, he's seeing his master ignite a lightsaber, but then Luke's gone it, he's ignited it, but then he's questioning it, going, hold fire, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah,
what am I doing?
And I love
that split second of like, whoa, it's too late now. You've set a course.
All I was left with was what was it? All I was left with was shame and consequence.
Yeah,
and I absolutely fantastic. And I think if I would have The Last Jedi higher, if it was just the Rey, Luke, and Kylo stuff. If it was just the Canto Bight stuff, it would be at the very bottom, because it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
But I mean, in hindsight, it is only because this was a long film. This was over two and a half hours. It was less than 10 minutes of screen time.
It felt a lot longer.
And I think it was only 10 minutes.
But then you're also taking into account DJ, waste of time.
Yeah.
Don't join the film, mate.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been in there. You had Rose, who was a lovely character, but
again, poorly written.
I don't think she was involved in the way that she should have been.
Yeah, definitely.
Chewie was virtually non-existent in this film. He had nothing to do.
Apart from eating a pork.
Yeah, and I just... I do have my criticisms.
It was frustrating.
Snoke was brilliant. I liked Snoke. I felt...
But again, that was another one that was just misused, misrepresented, miswritten.
And I think there could have been more done. Again,
something that we can fix, potentially.
Yeah. I think there's more that could have been hinted at, like some kind of... Now, yes, I know they used the Palpatine theme. I almost think that scene was too much of an echo of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
But, to the, let me show you the fight that's going on outside.
Yeah.
But I thought the twist was good. Killing him off was a shock. It would have been more effective if there was build up towards it, going, there's a higher power out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Or, a communication. You see Snoke talking to someone. Hello. But yeah, I for the Luke, Kylo, Rey things, I absolutely love it.
What did you think about Force Skype?
I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it.
Because actually there was precedent set in like the comics. There was a thing there anyway.
Yeah.
But also it was the idea of Leia and Luke could talk to each other across distances. You know, when he's hanging from Bespin,
Yeah.
Leia could hear him. Vader and Luke were talking to each other. I think there was precedent set for that. I also really like the way people are like, oh, you know, with Luke's Force Echo and you know, Force Teleport, you know, whatever it was. That had been suitably set up, where Kylo had said, "You can't do that. The effort would kill you."
Mm.
And I think that was really set up nicely.
Very true.
So what's your number 9?
My number 9 is Solo.
Interesting.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So at 9 out of 11, and the two ones that I haven't talked about, unfortunately, through the power of deduction, you can guess where they are in the list. So Solo, I actually thought Alden Ehrenreich's, if that's how you pronounce it, his portrayal of Han and Lando, Han was very good, and then
Yes.
Childish Gambino's portrayal of Lando was also incredible. I thought the dynamic between the two of them was well acted, was well portrayed. I thought he was he wasn't a good, like, because it was a good personification almost of Harrison Ford's Han Solo, and it was very, very cool.
Yeah, I have to say, I didn't have a problem with it.
No, I didn't. I knew that people were like, "Oh, he needed acting lessons and all this and that." I was like, "Mate, shut up, mate."
But
It's
what-
like, it's a film?
Ewan McGregor didn't, and the difference being, Ewan McGregor was playing a much younger version of Obi-Wan,
Yeah,
but he didn't act like Alec Guinness.
no, he didn't.
He didn't try and do an Alec Guinness impersonation.
Yeah,
And I think that was right that Alden Ehrenreich didn't do that.
yeah.
And I think
Because you've got to do your own. Like, you're an actor, you've got to do
Yeah.
your own like twist on it.
And there were times when you could tell that was supposed to be Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
I don't get people's. I think people are too stiff-minded
when it comes to
sometimes. Yeah.
I thought Chewie was very nice in it. I thought he was an amazing. Like he was definitely more prominent in this film.
Yes, and that was very refreshing. After he
He's
has
not-
a minimal role in the
Yeah,
sequel trilogy,
yeah,
doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
So-
just there for fan service almost to a
Yeah,
point.
he's the dog. He becomes
Yeah.
the dog rather than the companion. And I think, in Solo, it's so nice to see him get more attention.
And I thought their relationship, how they're introduced, while it's not like an ideally written situation, I thought it's very nice. It was
but the idea that he
good way.
frees him from slavery.
Yeah, exactly.
Would have liked some kind of mention of a life debt,
Yeah,
but that's
I feel like it is mentioned, is it not?
it might be mentioned somewhere in a comic,
Yeah,
but
I feel-
not in the film.
I mean, there was throwbacks, because obviously there was talking about like that first heist scene when they're trying to rob the train. Obviously, there's a bit set up before that where they're talking about contacting like Bosk and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. There was Zam Wessel or the Wessel sisters. I can't remember what it was. There was one.
Oh, was there a Westall sister?
Yeah, I
didn't
think
know that.
if you listen to it, I think it was one of the.
Because Sam would have been long dead, wouldn't she?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what one of the. I think it's something along those kinds of lines. I can't remember. And again, this is another one where the set pieces were visually stunning. Like that train scene
Yeah.
was incredible. Like it was beautiful. And I remember watching a video talking about the CGI of the explosion and how that was actually done underwater, and it was like an underwater.
Oh, really?
It was
Yeah.
an underwater explosion. But that it looked so cool. I'm not gonna lie, Woody Harrelson in the Star Wars franchise,
Oh,
perfect,
brilliant.
brilliant,
Really, really good.
Literally, he plays the outlaw so
Yeah.
well. Jarvis as a bad guy. I mean,
Do you know what?
Paul Bettany. Sorry, I do apologise. I mean, he
I
was
liked-
different. He was different.
he had that. I'm a gangster. I
Yeah.
don't know whether the fight had the same impact on me, because it's like think about it like a video game. You've got
Yeah.
the big boss at the end,
Yeah,
and with like a Darth Maul, he had that. You could believe he could take on these people.
yeah,
And I suppose it was almost like he's brought a knife to a gunfight.
yeah,
And I felt like it would have been better if it was something slightly different.
yeah.
But otherwise, I really liked Dryden Voss. He had
Dryden
that.
Voss. I can remember his name. And it was Voss. Yeah.
Yeah, he really had that good
He had a menacing
He was menacing.
aura about him.
Yeah, he was smarmy. He was the kind of villain you'd expect to have in a Solo film.
100%. But at the end of the day, I think no one really asked for this film. Like, no one was crying out for a Solo origin story.
No.
I think that was the big thing that let it down.
And can we pause for a moment so I can vent my absolute rage at that stupid scene where he says, "I'm on my own.
Solo.
And
yeah, I mean, I was
Solo.
going to mention it. It was a bit like,
I mean, how different would it have been? Here we've got the next Star Wars film is Loner,
Yeah.
a Star Wars story. Han Loner.
it was a bit like, oh, you've just done that for a quick.
Yeah,
a
I
quick thing.
didn't need that, and
No.
it just there are some things that you do need explaining.
Yeah,
Some
indeed.
things you don't.
Yeah.
And how someone gets his last name.
Yeah, I think people would have been more wanting to see a Kenobi film standalone than a
Yes.
Solo one at the time, and
actually,
it was a tricky one.
I think the problem is, if this was marketed and if it was tweaked slightly to be more like here's scum and villainy, a Star Wars story, I think the reception would have been better. You've got the kind of the scum and villainy, the bounty hunters, the kind of the unpleasant side of life.
Yeah.
That would have been a really compelling story. I would love to see the next part of that story where they go to Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be really, really good to see.
Yeah. And also we've got the love story as well. Like Kira, aka Emilia Clarke, while she is an absolutely stunning actress, like it was a bit like came out of nowhere.
It was
something that humanized Han as a character, but it was a bit like at the end of the day. Yeah.
It was a good way of.
It was very meh.
It was a really good way to show why his heart had hardened.
Yeah.
But I almost wonder whether it would have been better if it was a brother-sister relationship.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's just occurred to me.
So obviously that was my number 9. What's your number 9?
Well, before we move on, my number 9, I'll tell you in a minute. My number 9 was Attack of the Clones.
Oh, okay.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Darth Maul.
That brief little cameo was incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's gone nowhere.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I think it needs, with the stuff that we've had in Clone Wars, it would have benefited from going somewhere.
Yeah.
With the idea of he's got this whole criminal underworld. I mean, it was fantastic to see him.
Yeah. 100%.
Whit were doing the voice. Ray Park back looking old.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And he had his original, the lightsaber that he had in the Rebels.
Yes, absolutely.
So he had that one with the
old
whip.
master.
Yeah, he had that. He had his robot legs.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Really, really good to see.
It was good.
And that would have opened, and I think it was really good because it opened the door because people would have seen that and gone, hold on, how did Darth Maul come back?
Yeah.
Watch the Clone Wars.
Exactly. Go back and watch that.
But yeah, I mean, I thought that was fantastic. So yeah, number 9 was Attack of the Clones. Have we done your number 9?
Yeah, my number 9 was Solo.
Right. Shall I do my number 10?
Yeah, go on.
So my number 10 was Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Purely because I like the Palpatine bits. It really creeps me out, and I like that. It's a different tone.
Okay.
And I like the mystery behind it. I think it could have been... It's a tough one, because actually now that I've been talking about Solo, I can think of more to enjoy about it.
Did you put Solo at number 11?
Solo's number 11 for me.
Wow. Wow, he's put that one at the end.
But think back to
He's
what...
put that one at the very worst Star Wars film.
Well, no, because there's 12 films. I put Clone Wars 2008 is the last one.
Oh,
That's horrendous.
we're doing it out of 11. That's fine. Controversy.
But I think for me, my love of Star Wars comes from the mysticism.
Yeah.
And Solo didn't have any mysticism.
No, that's
and
true.
I thought, whereas Rogue One had a really good balance, you could feel the presence of the Force and the Jedi who were gone. Yes, this is Solo is what, 5? I don't know how many years after Order 66, so there are no Jedi around. But there was nothing.
Yeah.
And I almost felt like the Empire could have been more of a presence. I know we saw the giant, Star Destroyer, but I don't know. I think. For me, Rise of Skywalker has that mysterious element to it. It leaves me wanting more. The amount of research I did looking through those, visual dictionaries about
the Sith
Exegol and the Citadel, and how did Palpatine get there? He's on a giant Omen harness. That's what it's called, the giant claw. I thought that was incredibly creepy. Really, it fired my imagination.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Solo was like, yeah, that's good. That was good. I enjoyed that. It was a fun film.
Yeah. But that was it. Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker really fired my imagination.
Yeah.
And made me want more. Do I agree that it's a wonderful film? No, it's not. There are bits that I can't stand.
Wait to hear my opinion.
I think the Finn stuff I don't particularly enjoy. I struggle with it a little bit.
Don't forget, they fly now.
Oh, they fly now. Oh, God almighty. So, yeah, some of it, and like, why was a ship just left on Pasana for so long? Like I said, the dark bits, the bits with... and I don't see it as a retcon. Some people say, oh, no, it's JJ retconning things when he says, when Luke catches the lightsaber. I don't feel like it's a retcon. I think it's him changing his mind.
I think it's him taking the absolute piss. I think that's what it is. I think, no, you carry on. I'll vent my frustrations in a second. Don't worry.
I think it. Now, this might be just me making it fit to my perception, but I really do feel like it's a more enlightened Luke Skywalker who's learned from his experience and now is one with the Force and is able to do things. It wasn't set up very well. The whole Palpatine's your granddaughter. Is your grandfather? I don't think that was set up particularly well.
No.
And I like the idea of it.
Yeah.
And I think it fired my imagination more than Solo. Solo was a funner film, but I think there's more intrigue for me. I'd want to read more about.
Yeah, I suppose from your perspective, from your point of view.
From my point of view.
I think that is perfectly acceptable to have those. I think my last two, as in my lowest ranking Star Wars films and are the worst, I put Last Jedi and then Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker to me, I will go into detail in a second, but echoing a lot of your points for Last Jedi in terms of its position, it was good to see Luke again, while that absolutely triggers everyone. I think that was poor writing. It was like there were so many interviews you saw with Mark Hamill going, yes, he fundamentally disagrees with what he's done with what Ryan Johnson did with the character, but he bit the billet.
But like the professional that he is and the amazing person that he is, he just did it wonderfully.
Exactly.
Actually, I would say Last Jedi is some of Mark Hamill's best acting.
Yeah, probably. Some of the art style was quite cool. So like the Holdo maneuver. We didn't talk about Holdo.
Oh, that was beautiful.
Yeah, that was stunning.
And the silence. The sound design of that was equivalent to the sonic charge in Attack of the Clones.
100%. While people will be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Why is it not that? Like, it kind of does. If you break it down, in episode 4, Han says, we've got to plot the navigational computer in the thing, or fly into a million pieces, fly into a star, blah, blah, blah. That's basically what she's done. She's gone, right, set course for there. She's just gone, boom, and it was a good representation of what could happen.
Yeah.
While the character Holdo was a bit... and I think Poe was very...
Yeah.
It angers me,
and the humour, Poe's humour in that went right downhill.
Yeah, it angers me how he was written.
Yes,
in that film,
especially because he wasn't established.
Me.
If that had been in the first film, I'd understand it a bit more. But we're halfway. This is the middle film. You'd expect that kind of trait to have been established already.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I thought one thing we didn't talk about is Leia's Force abilities.
Mary Poppins.
I think I remember sat there in the cinema with you, and there was a visible look of, I don't want to say disgust, but there was a visible look of confusion mixed with a hint of disgust, because I was just like, what?
It was really
like, what? Where has this come from?
To be honest,
it's just like, what are you doing?
I almost wonder whether it would have been best to have ended her character arc there.
Yeah. I think me and you both agreed on that we were like, look, Carrie Fisher has tragically passed away. She's not going to be in the next one. Write her out here. Yeah. Do it maybe like change it to some kind of heroic sacrifice.
Yeah.
Like, or something along those kinds of lines. But like, don't do that. Like, it was stupid. Snoke was wasted. Like, I'm sorry, he was. Like, this links into the big problem with the sequel trilogy.
No planning.
There was no planning.
Yeah.
You had one director doing one thing, another one doing another, then another one correcting him. It's like, what are you doing?
I like that. Again, I think it's all linked to my imagination.
Yeah.
The possibilities that come alongside with Snoke are interesting.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a Force wielder. How did he get that mangled face? Yeah. We've never seen his species before.
No. Who is he?
Who is he? Yeah. Is he a Sith?
Yeah.
Why does he have a bit of obsidian from Mustafar on a ring?
Yeah.
Why is he wearing a gold dressing gown?
Yeah. Has he just gotten out of bed? Is he just permanently sleeping?
I think there was a lot of possibilities there that fired my imagination.
Yeah. And that is perfectly acceptable because obviously it does that. But then that's just like none of those questions that you had were ever answered.
No, and I think that's the issue.
Stupid.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Clearly, very frustrating.
But right, so now going on to Rise of Skywalker.
I'm going to sit back for this one.
No, okay, look. Positives that it did have. Okay, look. Ben Solo's redemption arc was amazing. I thought that was amazing.
Can we also talk about how the music changed? You had the same notes, but also they turned it into a more, I think, major key. So it was actually more... Ben Solo's theme was Kylo Ren's theme inverted and sounded beautiful.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing how he'd gone from this evil child, then like gone through some trauma, killed his own dad, but then his dad is still like, you know, like, as a hallucination, not a Force ghost. It was it
was a complete hallucination.
Yeah,
it was
never
his
a
memories.
Force ghost. Yeah. That was amazing. Just the touch of the face, and then him realizing, you know, like, what have I done?
And the repetition of the lines as well. It was the same scene.
Yeah,
fantastic. I like that.
It was. I thought it was a brilliant redemption arc. It was on par to Vader's, not as good.
No. I don't think it was on par with Vader's.
No.
I think Vader's was more meaningful. Taking away the take that out.
Yeah. But the problem was, right, so Luke's character, you can say it was like, mate, at the end of the day, it was 100% JJ going back on what Ryan had done to him in terms of like how he'd... Like the scene where she chucks the lightsaber into the fire and he catches it. And it's like, this is
this lightsaber is your life.
You know, it's important. Like, completely disregarding how he was at the start of Last Jedi, where he's just fucking...
But don't forget, he has died. He's joined the Cosmic Force. He's more aware of things. He died in a much better place.
That is a good explanation.
He changed his mind at the end. He came to save them, but in his own way.
And a lot of people were frustrated with these Force abilities that people had. And I was like, okay, relax yourself. For starters, him having the ability to teleport or to create an illusion of him on another planet, that's perfectly acceptable because you could see the strain that it had on him.
And that had been established.
He died.
Yeah.
The fact that he died because of using that ability.
Like when Kylo said, "You're not doing this, the effort would kill you."
Yeah.
And it did. It killed Luke.
Yeah, literally. And Rey's magical healing abilities. It's like, no, it's fine. Like, you can understand.
I'm fine with that.
No, exactly.
Because actually... Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, look, Palpatine was searching his whole life for the secret to cheat death. It's not cheating death. It's a selfless act. You are giving your life force to somebody else. There is no way that Palpatine would ever do that and see that as the answer that he was looking for.
100%.
He's all about draining life.
He wants to be like the Emperor Valkorion in the Old Republic, like draining for immortality.
Emperor Dracula.
It was a very interesting concept, and to be honest with you, it's not a concept that I frowned upon. I thought it was very cool. You could understand the manipulation of midichlorians. Well, some people don't like that concept. It's like, yeah, okay, that's what they're doing. And then,
do you think it's also because we've been playing the games where things like drain life and heal are just common aspects?
Yeah, it's an understanding thing. Like, you have a heal roll in the Old Republic. So clearly they do something right. You know what I mean? I didn't like race heritage. I thought it was... Do you know what? The last Jedi did right, I thought they should have left. She was a nobody. She was a nobody. Just leave it at that.
Because
why do you need to change it? Like, that was such a frustration. Like, it was
Anakin was a no one.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not only like, oh, your dad's a nobody. It's like, you're a nobody. Like, you don't have any kind of special heritage. You're a nobody. Leave it at that.
Force
it was
has just
brilliant.
Chosen you.
And do you know what that did? That humanized her so much. It made her relatable because you're like, you're not this special person that was predestined to do this. You were just somebody.
Also, it makes you think, as the person watching it, you look at it and think, that could be me. It could be anyone.
Yeah, it could be anyone.
It could be Broom Kid, which is what the whole point of Broom Kid was at the end.
Yeah. And it was just like, it just went back into it. And it was just like, oh yeah, your parents.
Can we also say the Rey Skywalker is absolute rubbish?
Oh yeah, it triggers.
Do you know what? I would...
Identity fraud is not a joke.
I personally... This is her chance to redeem the Palpatine name.
Yeah, true.
Palpatine has been a name that has been feared for centuries. If she goes round saying, "Who are you?" "I'm Rey Palpatine."
Man, that old lady would have dropped it and like legged it.
She'd be like, "Pew! Screw this."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she would have been out of there.
But I think that would have been more effective because actually there's power in a name.
Yeah.
And actually to redeem, that would be Palpatine's redemption.
Yeah.
Because the name of Skywalker has been redeemed. People learned that Anakin was, betrayed, became Darth Vader.
Yeah.
That's now been redeemed.
Yeah.
I think it would have been good for Palpatine's name to be redeemed.
But it doesn't
take Skywalker.
It doesn't roll off the tongue. Ray Palpatine. It just doesn't what? It's just
true.
What? It just doesn't work. I thought the film was trying to sap too much of Endgame. So Endgame came out.
Really? I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, well, think about it. Like that end scene where like there's a million, billion, trillion different ships.
That gives me goosebumps every time.
Yeah, but then it's just like you're just trying to do an Endgame pause.
The ghost is there. The ghost from Rebels.
Yeah, I get that. But you're trying to do what Endgame did, but you got no setup for it because you didn't plan it.
Do you know what? I don't have a problem with that. I know a lot of people have been saying, how did Lando get around the galaxy to collect all those ships? Well, you know what? There's outer space telephones. That's email. He sent an email. He tweeted.
Exactly. He tweeted in the Star Wars universe. But it just frustrates me because you could tell that they were trying to emulate an Endgame.
The on your left moment.
Yeah, but it was just shocking because it had no setup. Endgame had 20 years of setup.
There was setup. In the sense of in the film, he was like, we just had each other.
Yeah.
And actually, now the galaxy has each other.
Yeah.
And I love that moment where he's like, I can't remember what Lando says, but he's like,
yeah, something along the lines of we're all there, we're all here.
Yeah,
blah, blah.
You're not alone, we're here.
Yeah,
so I can't remember what the line is, but it's really, really good.
It worked, but then it was just like it felt forced. Because like a couple of months later, we just had Endgame, which had just executed it to perfection.
I hadn't even thought of that like that.
Yeah, like I said, it was trying to prey on the fact that Endgame was so successful. Oh, let's do something similar.
But don't forget, they would have been in production at about the same time, so I don't think there was any way of them knowing. I suppose it's all Disney, really, isn't it? But I don't know.
And then can we just talk about the plot holes and the MacGuffins? Oh my word! I don't mind. Like this Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones style like thing that JJ went for, but things like the knife and pulling it out, a wreckage that no one can control.
Can I just say, how is there wreckage at all?
Yeah,
the whole thing blew up.
Yeah, vaporized. Like
you shouldn't be able to see half the hemisphere.
Yeah, exactly.
His chair, Palpatine's chair,
is still intact. It's like what? Like, and plus, like...
as good as it was to see them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very cool set piece. And, like, seeing that, like, a sea being, like, batting up. And then, but, like, having a knife that has an exact position to where you want to go amongst ruins of a Death Star that should be crumpled, should be, like, especially because it's been, like, what, 20-odd years? You're telling me a sea hasn't eroded metal in 20 years. It's collapsed and changed position.
I could understand, like, the Titanic is still around at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, but it's not in exactly the same position, though, is it? Like, it's
pretty
dropped.
Much.
Yeah, but, like, metals have dropped and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And plus, like, that is below water.
But I think the thing is... it's sticking up because so much of the wreckage has survived. My disagreement is the record shouldn't have been...
it just got blown up.
And actually, the Emperor's it was on a tower.
Yeah.
It wasn't in part of the main superstructure. No, it was a tower.
So it was on the surface.
So it should have been like a little twig, like fallen off somewhere. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of Death Star wreckage, but I almost think it would have been better if it was in space.
Yeah, potentially. I did not like Exegol. I just thought it was... do you know what it was? I just felt like it was so... random. It felt random.
Yes.
I think
Korriban
or a Droman Cuss, that could have worked.
Droman Cuss, for those of you who don't know, it's the Sith homeworld. Yeah. The Sith species homeworld from the Old Republic. I think that would have been it would have been more familiar, but only marginally.
Yeah.
I think introducing Exegol as the ancient homeworld of the Sith was just a very, very out of left field, because we've heard of Korriban or Moraband if you've watched Rebels, and
pretty sure Malakor's also been mentioned, but I mean that's...
Malachor was in Rebels, but it wasn't any kind of homeworld. It was just a Sith temple. And Droman Cast, but there's never been any mention of Exegol.
And it just sounds so...
don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. Like, if they'd have changed the name to Korriban, I would have been like, cool, that's amazing. And actually, I liked the environment. I liked the giant statues. I like the environment, the static, obviously being Palpatine, the god of lightning. I quite like the static electricity feel, the sound, and his voice, the zombie voice, was quite good. But yeah, I agree, it was very out of left field, and it left me wanting. The first thing I did was buy the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary. I was like, I want to learn more about Exegol and Palpatine.
What is this place?
The best source of information was the audiobook or the novelization, because they talked about how Palpatine survived. Transferring his consciousness into a clone body. That's never mentioned. That you don't see his wrinkled forehead and his melted face because he's a clone body.
Yeah. Of Civ. What was his name? Civ. Riv. Civ.
Who?
Palpatine's first name.
Sheev.
Yeah. It's not the Emperor. It's Sheev's body. That's what I mean.
It's Sheev before he was melted.
Yeah. I just
or his DNA.
It just, like you said, it just felt completely out of left field. It was a very strange, and then like to get there, you have to fly through this like weird goo that was like never explained. That like somehow you could fly a perfect course that some other people then could follow. It's just like, what are you talking about?
And the biggest unanswered question: did the Tantive 4 survive?
Oh yeah, no.
Is Neem Num still alive?
Yeah, no.
Nine Num, whatever.
Oh, it's just like it was very weird, and like how there was a giant fleet of Star Destroyers with like super lasers, just like
that's not great.
Parked just beneath an icy surface.
What it should have been. I like the idea of it being beyond a barrier.
Yeah,
because it's like the
beyond the known world.
Yeah,
almost,
it's in like the unknown regions.
Yeah,
but there was. What you'd almost want is an Imperial remnant. I've been here, so rather than the final order, it would be the next order. Oh. It would be this is my empire.
Yeah,
that's the first order. This is my empire. And it's like an Imperial remnant, so it's more. And I mean, I'm sorry, but as much as I do enjoy it, space lasers. Miniaturized Death Star tech on a Star Destroyer. Do me a favour.
Yeah, just stop it.
Rinse and repeat. And again, this is my issue. J.J. Abrams.
He's got no
lack
creativity.
of originality.
Yeah, he's got nothing.
While there are bits to Last Jedi that aren't my favourite, at least it's fresh.
Yeah,
it's
somewhat
fresh,
different.
It's different. It makes you think.
100%.
And this is why I don't like the Star Trek films that JJ does.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in anything JJ does.
He doesn't have creativity per se.
Yeah.
One thing that obviously was major for me, which I feel like I've just forgotten now. Oh no, this is awkward. It was massive. What was I thinking of?
I don't know. Death of Carrie Fisher or the death of Leia, anything like that?
That was pretty. No, do you know what? Actually, I didn't mind that.
I thought it was tastefully done.
Yeah, that tied it in quite nicely.
And I think, and how it linked into the redemption of Ben.
Yeah,
I thought it was very nice.
Oh, I had something amazing there, and I can't think of what were some of the big things of Rise of Skywalker. Oh, that's it. Oh, yeah. Now I'm triggered. It's just remembering. Mate. So the opening line of the scroll, "The dead speak."
Oh,
how disrespectful to a fan base do you have to be to link that to a game that kids play and a special event that it was to do with?
Do you mean Fortnite?
Fortnite. I cannot express to you the anger that I felt. Like, that is important lore details that as a Star Wars fan I want to know, and you're doing it in a video game that I don't play because I'm not a 2-year-old.
I'd just like to point out Fortnite is for 13-year-olds only and above.
Yeah, literally, like, the fact that they did one of the most important reveals probably in Star Wars history.
Absolutely.
And they've done it on a video game. How disrespectful to a fan base do you have to be to do that?
That line only works if get rid of Broom Kid at the end of Last Jedi, you play that message. At the end of Last Jedi, you think, oh, everything's happy, blah, blah, blah.
Like a post-credit scene.
And then, but it's the last thing that you hear is Palpatine.
Maybe even just a laugh. Like his laugh that was in the trailer.
I think it should be the
full speech. Have you watched the full speech?
No, I watched it once.
Yeah,
but I refused to watch it again.
I literally, because like Fortnite do these special events sometimes, and I was just like I don't play Fortnite. I don't. So like I have now missed out on something that is like,
and at least
integral to a film.
Yeah, but it's okay because Pippin tells us that he comes back through some kind of dark arts, Sith sorcery, Sith alchemy,
Oh.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so vague.
Oh, it
needed a flashback.
It wounded me as a Star Wars fan, knowing that they've just done that to your loyal fan base.
Yeah. I think that film needed some kind of flashback
Yeah.
or memory thing. Maybe it's that you show Palpatine being transferred from one body to another, like a fresh body
Yeah.
at the start of the film, and his memories are transferred, something like that, to show you what's going on. Because otherwise you're left at the end of the film going, is that his body that was hauled up from the bottom of the shaft? Is it a clone body? Is it a real body? Is it an android? You know.
But yeah, wow, that is our list.
That is
so
our
that
list.
shows as brothers how similar we are, and as Star Wars fans how similar we are. But you guys let us know, what is your favourite Star Wars film? What's your worst Star Wars film? What do you think of our opinions of the Star Wars films? Do you think that they could be different? What we say is stupid and trivial, or is it correct?
What I would love to know as well is, what was your entry point? Because actually, I think it will change. A lot of a lot of kids these days, their first film
will be The Force Awakens.
Will be the first Force Awakens, and I'd love to know. Tell us your list, but also tell us what was the first one that you saw, because I think that's fascinating to see the entry point. Some kids might have come in for seeing Solo, and so they might love Solo but hate the kind of the prequel stuff.
Because obviously we're kids of the 90s.
We are.
So our first taste was Phantom Menace, the prequel trilogy.
Well, and in fairness, the original trilogy on VHS.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, well, I hope everyone has enjoyed the first official episode of the Jedi Sages. We will look to be doing more episodes in the future.
Absolutely.
I think the next one we'll be talking about like topics of rumours, theories coming up for
kind of recent events.
Yeah. And then
the pictures of was it Ewan McGregor walking around in his dressing gown, and I thought a brilliant picture of what's his name? I want to say Pong Krell, but it's Dexter Jetster. Yeah. It's him walking onto set.
Yeah. But we can talk about those in the next one.
Absolutely.
So until that point, guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We will be putting a link to an email that you guys can get your questions in to ask us as Star Wars fans. We will try and get this onto probably Apple Music and Spotify.
If we can get it working.
Fingers crossed. And I guess we'll see you guys in the next one.
And remember, the Force will be with you.
Always.